A very good evening to you on this Thursday, the 7th day of May 2026. You're just in time for Newswatch tonight. I'm Tess Njenga and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Murithi. Let's kick off. A three-judge bench hearing the petition case of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has allowed the admission of the latest first petitioner affidavit sworn by Karen Hospital Chief Medic Dr. Dan Gikonyo, in which he confirms that indeed Gachagua was admitted for medical reasons at the facility during the impeachment proceedings at the Senate. This comes even as Gachagua maintained that his ouster was out of malice, thus making 11 demands that include the quashing of the decision reached by the National Assembly and Senate to impeach him. Vincent Kerosi has more on this story.
On Thursday afternoon's proceedings, the admissibility of an affidavit sworn by Rigathi Gachagua's personal doctor, Dan Gikonyo of the Karen Hospital, took center stage. In the affidavit, Dr. Gikonyo admits having attended to Gachagua after he was rushed to the facility with severe chest pains. According to the affidavit, the former deputy president was admitted at around 3 p.m. on October 17, 2024, presenting symptoms described by the doctor as consistent with potential cardiac events. He was treated for severe retrosternal chest pain, stabilized, and discharged on October 20, 2024 on oral medication with a follow-up. However, lawyers representing the respondents in the impeachment case asked the court to expunge the supplementary affidavit from the record, arguing that it was introduced late without the court's leave and contains serious allegations that require independent verification.
You have been told things about His Excellency, the head of state. He was not a member of the Senate. We don't know what value to that.
This affidavit ought to be struck out because it changes the parameters of our responses. Senate proceeded on the basis that the whereabouts of the deputy president then was unknown. Now they are saying he had a heart attack.
On the side of the petitioners, the lawyers maintained that the affidavit was barely corroborative, urging the court to admit it, saying it was in the due right of the respondents to cross-examine it if they found it necessary.
This affidavit ought to be struck out because it changes the parameters of our responses. Senate proceeded on the basis that the whereabouts of the deputy president then was unknown. Now they are saying he had a heart attack. Senate proceeded, my lord.
While the court noted that the petitioners failed to address the apparent delay in filing the affidavit, the judges deemed it duly filed and properly on record in the wider interest of justice.
In the wider interest of justice, we therefore make the following further orders. 1, the respondents are hereby granted leave to file and serve responses to the affidavit by close of business Monday 11th May 2026. In their response, the respondents shall indicate whether they wish to cross-examine the deponent on the content of the affidavit. Should that be so, the said deponent shall physically attend court on Wednesday 13th of May 2026. 2, leave is granted to the petitioners to file and serve any supplementary affidavit in response, if need be, by close of business on Tuesday, 12th May 2026.
Earlier on Thursday, Gachagua's legal team posted that he was ousted from the office on unconstitutional grounds, presenting 11 demands that they prayed the court to grant. Gachagua wants a declaration that the Senate failed on the aforementioned public participation and that the impeachment process fell below the required threshold, therefore unconstitutional. Gachagua also wants the court to declare that the appointment of a select committee by the Senate is mandatory in the impeachment process of the president and deputy president, and that the impeachment proceedings outside the select committee were unconstitutional. Vincent Kerosi, Hope TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Vincent, for that report. Now, President William Ruto has directed the Ministry of Education to complete the digitization of all learner records within 2 months to improve accountability and planning in the education sector. Speaking during the second National Education Conference in Naivasha, the President said the exercise being undertaken alongside Konza Technopolis aims to eliminate cartels and fraudulent records in schools. The President also urged school heads to adopt the e-citizen platform for school fee payments instead of cash transactions. The National Assembly's Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee is sounding the alarm of a worsening congestion in the country's prisons, describing the situation as a ticking time bomb. The committee says the crisis has been fueled by financial constraints facing the prison department, even as the number of inmates continue to rise sharply. This comes as new figures reveal that nearly 45% of all inmates are serving sentences for sexual offences under the Sexual Offences Act. Kenya currently has 134 prisons holding more than 60,000 inmates, despite an official capacity of just 30,000. Our reporter Dolly Murigi Mbuvi has more details on the growing concerns raised by lawmakers after a tour of Naivasha GK prison.
The overcrowding crisis in Kenya's prison is now under fresh scrutiny, with lawmakers warning that the situation has reached alarming levels. While speaking after inspecting Naivasha JK prison, Embakasi Central MP Benjamin Majidong said earlier reforms in the prison sector have been reversed, worsening conditions for inmates. He says the overcrowding has severely affected inmates' welfare, with many unable to access even basic necessities.
When you listen to the inmates, you find there is a lot of complaint about their welfare. When you come, when you go like to Nakuru prison, you find there are like 10,000 prisoners, inmates there inside there. And they are just being given 1,000 shilling per 3 months for them to use that 1,000 to call their family. 1,000 inmates to call their families. When we try to engage the officers, you hear the officers sometimes, they use their own money, their own pocket money, to help the inmates.
The MPs also criticized senior officials who recently traveled to Brazil to study open prison system, saying the focus should instead be on the strengthening local prison services that are already struggling. He further revealed that the prison department is facing severe underfunding, which has disrupted key operations, including transporting inmates to court.
The delegation that the PS is going with, not a single, a commissioner, or a senior prison officer who maybe will go and learn and come and help maybe in implementing what they have learned. But now, because of this, and you look at now the PS want to go and goes with this team that based in the headquarters. So even when the PS goes, nothing will be realized on the changes that we need to implement. And
as a committee, we are going all over the country. Some of the findings are findings of budget. For sure, we've looked at the books and the budget is so small for them to be able to take care of our inmates. An example, the inmates, especially those who are being taken to the courts, the costs of transport can only cater even not more than 10, given knowing where the fuel is. Look at the vehicles
Meanwhile, the Deputy Commissioner General of Prisons, Nicholas Maswai, acknowledged the challenges, citing both congestion and limited funding. He noted that while more police stations are being built, prison capacity has not expanded at the same rate, worsening overcrowding.
Congested, and it's just because that we need to put up more prisons. The issue of congestion, we need to put up more prisons so that we can accommodate more. The courts are expanding very fast. Police also are building stations, while the prison have not had enough resources to put up or expand the prisons. Population of the prison continue to go up. It's on the high side, and the budgetary allocation remains the same.
The committee says urgent reforms are needed to prevent the situation from escalating further. Dolly Mirigimbovi for Hope TV.
Much appreciated, Dolly. Now, nominated Senator Karen Nyamu has issued an unreserved apology after making controversial remarks about a grade 10 student who was visiting the Senate. The student from Breban Garden Estate International School was attending proceedings under the school volunteer scheme when Nyamu made comments in jest while acknowledging her presence. The remarks sparked backlash, with the Senate Speaker ruling them unparliamentary and directing the senator to apologize immediately. Nyamu proceeded to apologize to the student, her family, the school, and the public, saying she regretted the comments made during the March 25th session involving Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei.
Madam Speaker, I, Senator Karen Nyamu, MP, hereby tender my unreserved apology to the Senate, the student under the School Voluntary Service Scheme, the family of the student, and the public for the remarks I made on Wednesday, 25th March 2026, 2027, while welcoming the student. I acknowledge that the utterances were inappropriate and fell short of the dignity, decorum, and respect expected of a state officer, particularly towards a young female learner who was in the speaker's gallery. I reaffirm my commitment to uphold the values and integrity of the Senate and to treat all persons, especially young people, engaging with Parliament with respect and courtesy they deserve. Madam Speaker, I will also go ahead to say that I was highly misunderstood.
Senator Karen,
very surprised.
Senator Karen, just leave it at that. You may have your seat now.
On that note, let's take a short break on Newswatch tonight. We have more coming up. Stay with us.
Hi, my name is Sharon Aitore Wangenya. Thank you so much for being one of our viewers. We truly honor you and appreciate you. We'd love to know how you're receiving us, how your reception is in terms of the quality of the video and the audio as well. So please scan this QR code and give us your feedback. Thank you and God bless you.
Welcome back. The National Council of Churches of Kenya, NCCK, has kick-started preparations aimed at ensuring a peaceful electioneering period in the North Rift region. Speaking during a meeting with various stakeholders from Uasin Gishu County, NCCK officials expressed the need for every Kenyan to be allowed to exercise their constitutional right to elect their preferred leaders. They also hailed the recently concluded voter registration, but called for concerted efforts to ensure no Kenyan is locked out from registering as a voter. Representatives of persons with disabilities also called on the community to ensure those who have IDs are registered as voters.
Sasa mara nyingi ni kuomba kwamba ni mazingira gani tutafanya kazi na jukumu hii. Jukumu ambayo tutakuwa na amani, kanisa inatetea amani kwa kila mmoja. Mnyonge au pia na nafasi ya kupiga kura na kuwa na usemi wake. Na unapokuwa na usemi, isikuwe usemi ya kuchochea watu kupigana ama kutenga watu kutoka mahali moja hadi nyingine ndio upate nafasi ya kupata watu ambao unasema hawa ni wangu.
Watu wengi youth hawajapata identity cards. Kama serikali ingefanya juhudi ya kuleta identity card kwa watu, itakuwa mzuri sana. About 2 months now.
Walemavu pia ni wale wanapiga kura, na ndio maana tunaomba kwamba kuna wale ambao wameficha watu ambao walio na ulemavu na umefika umri ya kupiga kura. Kwa hivyo tunaomba wazee ama watu wa North uzima ama kwa Kenya uzima tufanye mambo ya kwamba tukaribishe wale ambao wako na ulemavu na wamefikisha umri na bado mnaficha, mtoe hao wakate kipande na wapate kupiga kura, kwa sababu pia wako na haki.
Na kando na kufikiwa peke yake, si kupiga kura peke yake, wafikiwe kwa maisha yao ya kawaida, wapate kwenda shule, wapate kwenda kanisani. Na hiyo ndio mwito wetu kama uongozi ya watu walemavu, na hata tunachukuanga hatua kuwatembelea. Na pia kitu ambacho tunafanya pia, we make sure that even in the churches there are sign language interpreters, ili na wao pia wapate ujumbe huu.
Human rights and women's rights groups have blamed the government for what they call a dragging of its feet in the fight against violence against women. The groups claim that despite a presidential working group established by President William Ruto in December 2024 to curb the vice, which recommended declaring the issue a national disaster, the cases are increasing daily, with 220 women reportedly killed in 2025. As Vincent Kerosi now reports, the activist groups now want quick justice for the victims, urging the government to move from paper policy to implementation.
Alarming spike in the femicide cases in Kenya.
In their press release, women's rights and advocates now say their patience has run out with femicide cases against young girls, middle-aged and elder women on the rise, a development that raises serious concerns about their safety in society.
Right now we are demanding, because the numbers are way too big, they are way too large. We've been asking politely.
According to them, the government has failed to take the matter with the seriousness it requires, as their colleagues continue to be killed and tortured, and the government institutions are dragging their feet, despite the fact that President William Ruto himself established a 42-member task force over a year and a half ago, with their work yet to be felt.
A task force was made, and we believe the task force has recommendation. We believe the task force was given the power to do a research. So they came up with policies, but the gap is between the intention and the implementation. And between this gap, that is where lives are lost.
In January 2024, activists led women in nationwide demonstrations across the country to protest the brutal killings of their female counterparts, a move that led the president to form a 42-member working group led by former Deputy Chief Justice Nancy Baraza, with the aim of nipping the vice in the bud.
The government, in its women's agenda, is explicitly committed to ending all forms of violence. As leaders, we are united in the resolve to ensure that justice is swift and efficient.
However, women are afraid that since the working group was formed, cases of violence have increased, with Vocal Africa noting that between January and April of this year, they have documented over 27 cases reported to them.
How many more women and girls must be raped, mutilated, murdered and dumped before the government act decisively? How many more families must bury daughters in pain while leaders issue empty statement and token condolences.
All eyes are now on the government and security agencies to put a stop to these cases, with women living in fear of not knowing what tomorrow will bring.
Women's rights are human rights.
Vincent Kerosi, Hope TV, Nairobi.
Much appreciated, Vincent Kerosi, even as we do hope that the vice will be eradicated in the country. Now to international news, the World Health Organization is monitoring a hantavirus outbreak linked to the cruise ship MV Honduras, where 3 people have died since the vessel left Argentina last month. WHO Chief Tedros Ghebreyesus says 5 more passengers have tested positive, warning additional cases could emerge because the virus can incubate for up to 6 weeks. The ship, carrying passengers from several countries, is now sailing to Spain's Canary Islands after spending 3 days anchored near Cape Verde. Health authorities are tracing contacts in countries including the UK, Switzerland, and the Netherlands. The source of the outbreak remains unknown, and experts say person-to-person transmissions of this hantavirus strain is rare.
What we know about transmission, and there's been a lot of questions posed to us about, what is actually happening. What we do know is that the Andes virus, in previous outbreaks, there has been instances of human-to-human transmission, mainly among close contacts, either providing clinical care or people who have had close physical contact. And we believe that's happening and has happened in the case here on the ship as well, between the couple, the first and second cases, and also a medical doctor providing care. As you probably know, those who develop symptoms, those who go on to develop disease, sometimes develop very severe disease, which includes severe respiratory disease. So there may be some coughing, there may be some aerosolizing procedures that may be done. And of course, that's where we would require higher level care. So this is not COVID, this is not influenza, it spreads very, very differently. So there are different precautions that people are taking. So we are supporting the ship's operators in the mitigation measures that they are putting on board. And as we've said, we are working to have a proper and full disembarkment procedure step by step to support authorities in the Canary Islands for the next stage of the people who are on board.
And Dr. Mahmoud, please.
No, there was the second part of the question about whether this is an epidemic or pandemic and all the things going on social media. I just wanted to address the situation. What makes unique here is similarity crowded in a confined space. We had a similar situation in Argentina in 2018 to 2019 when a symptomatic individual attended a social gathering.
Now in business, Safaricom has announced a 67.3% jump in net profits to 100 billion shillings for the 2025-2026 financial year. The company says the strong financial results were driven by continued customer growth, increased adoption of digital services, and solid performance across core product lines. The telco has meanwhile announced a dividend payout of 2 shillings per share, totaling 80.1 billion shillings, representing a 66.7% increase from the previous year. And as Alice Diana reports, Safaricom Ethiopia has continued its growth momentum, contributing 12.5% to the group's service revenue growth during the year.
Safaricom has today announced its financial results for the year ended March 31st, 2026, marked by robust revenue growth and dividend payout to shareholders. Announcing the results, Group Chief Executive Officer Peter Ndegwa said group net income rose to 100 billion shillings, while Safaricom Kenya's service revenue increased by 10% to 400.8 billion shillings. Earnings before interest and tax grew by 15.3% to 182.3 billion shillings.
Safaricom Kenya, and please listen to some of these numbers, achieved the 400 billion shillings mark. The 400 billion shilling mark in service revenue which is approximately $3 billion, Kenya alone, representing 10% year-on-year growth. This is our third year in a row of delivering double-digit growth.
During the year under review, mobile data revenue increased by 18.3% to 92.9 billion shillings, while M-Pesa revenue grew by 13.4% to 182.7 billion shillings.
It is worth noting that the M-Pesa business remains robust, supported by the investments we have been making and also the ecosystem that we have built. M-Pesa revenue profile continues to evolve with increased contribution from.
As part of its financial year 2026 results, Safaricom has announced a dividend payout of 2 shillings per share, totaling to 80.1 billion shillings, representing a 66.7% increase from the previous year.
This comprises, of course, which is already paid, interim dividends of 85 cents, and also a recommended final dividend of 1 shilling and 15 cents, which will be subject to the shareholder approval at the upcoming AGM in July.
Meanwhile, Safaricom Ethiopia continued its growth momentum during the year, with subscriber numbers in the country increasing to 13.6 million customers, supported by a stronger network now covering 60% of the population with 3,504 sites. Alice Diana, Hope TV Newswatch.
There's a world out there searching for hope, and you can help bring it home. By becoming a friend of Hope, you're helping us share the love of Jesus through Hope FM and Hope TV. With a donation of any amount, join hands with us to bring hope and point souls to the transforming power of Jesus Christ. Become a friend of Hope today by making your donation through the M-Pesa paybill number 933933, account FOH. For more information on how to become a friend of Hope, call 0116-212-723 or email customerexperience@hopefm.org or visit www.hopemediakenya.org. Friends of Hope, keeping hope alive.
And now in sports, the Kenya Volleyball Federation has outlined key experiences and lessons from the recently concluded Africa Club Championships hosted in Rwanda and Egypt respectively, highlighting both progress and areas that need urgent attention. According to the Federation's Deputy President Paul Bitok, the club championships have provided a clear reality check for Kenyan volleyball, helping the country identify critical gaps that must be addressed to compete effectively at the continental level. Caleb Muoti has the report.
The just concluded club championships have provided an open window for assessment, giving the Kenya Volleyball Federation a clear picture of where the country stands against Africa's top volleyball nations. In the men's category held in Rwanda, Kenyan talents standing out in foreign leagues played a vital role, guiding their respective clubs to the final and underlining the country's growth influence on the continental stage.
Individual players, as I said before, we had other players like Makuto, Meli, Matui, who are representing us in different clubs in Rwanda. And they managed to take the team up to the finals. They showed to us that we can do better when it comes to the clubs of Kenya, not as individual. So if you can imagine the two players, that is Brian Meli and Elfas Makuto, they can lead Rwandan team up to the finals and get the results being second in Africa. What about now if you combine more players in our team and participate in such competition? That means we can win.
Bitok further pointed out that the championships highlighted the importance of strong investment in modern facilities, adding that these elements are crucial for bridging the gap with Africa's top-performing teams.
Struggling, we don't have arenas which is enough to host a big competition like African Championship or the Africa Club Championship. This year, we were lucky. We managed to be in Egypt and also in Rwanda. If you inform them that Kenya have no arena to host a big competition like African Championship, they wonder. Kenya, we are the first in Africa with Malkia Strikers, but we don't have the arenas to host such competition.
KCB Volleyball Club secured silver at the Africa Club Championships in Egypt, finishing as the highest placed Kenyan club at the Continental Showdown. The Leonesses continue to cement their status among Africa's top clubs, having already secured 2 continental honors.
The tournament was successfully. We tried. Tukakuja number 2, in which tulitaka number 1, but number 2 ndio tukapata. We thank God for that. And kitu naweza sema about different thing about our club na za nje ni most clubs za nje hawa wana focus mostly kwa professional players.
Majuzi tumetoka club champion, ilikuwa Egypt, Cairo. Lesson and tulilearn kutoka huko ni kujituma tu, kaza, moral.
The country will now shift focus on international assignments, with the men's national team Wafalme gearing up for the CAF B Zone 5 competition in Uganda early next month. For Hope TV Sports, I'm Caleb Mwoti.
Thank you, Caleb, for that report. NCBA Group has announced a 2 million shillings sponsorship for the Sunshine Development Tour East Africa Swing ahead of the June tournament at Royal Nairobi Golf Club. The bank says the partnership is aimed at strengthening the growth of professional golf in East Africa by creating more opportunities for upcoming players to compete and advance to the international stage. Tour organizers have welcomed the sponsorship, saying it will help improve competition standards and expand pathways for regional golfers. The event is expected to attract top professional and amateur golfers from across East Africa competing for prize money and world ranking points.
Why we are here? Because we believe in people before the world does. We are doing a lot when it comes to the world of golf, and today we reinforce our commitment to make sure our pros get more opportunities to play and become the next Tiger Woods. So there's a lot of tournaments already existing for the pros, but the Sunshine Tour is one we've not been a part of, and being a part of the conversation today and the investment is to make sure that our pros are well taken care of so that golf can move to the next level for Kenya.
Now they come into SDT to continue with that support. Significant because it's a mutual partnership. It helps the tour grow in terms of footprint, in terms of quality of events. And at the same time, it also helps the bank as it builds its brand across not just Kenya, but the region and the continent.
KCB Rugby Club will face rivals Cabra's Sugar RFC in the Kenya Cup final on May 9th at the ASK Showground, with the Bunkers chasing a historic 9th title. KCB heads into the clash confident after an impressive season that saw them hold Cabras to a 10-all draw during the regular campaign before heavy rain disrupted the match. Head coach Andrew Amonde said the team has grown in confidence and is ready to execute its game against the defending champions. The Bunkers have also been boosted by the return of key 7 stars, including Vincent Onyala and George Ooro. Team captain Bob Muhati says the squad is fully focused and determined to bring the Kenya Cup title back home.
The day we played Cabras at home and the game ended into a draw, there's a lot of learning that we picked from that game. So from there we've picked a lot. We were able to adjust a lot on our side. I think it's going to be a different ball play. We only pray for a dry play that we're able to run our ball and to be able to stick to our game plan. So the boys have worked very hard to know the kind of opponent they're going to face and the kind of support they're going to play at their home ground, playing at their backyard. So that is something that we've put into our program and to be able to work on and to be able to just work on our mental and to just focus on what we need to play, because we have young boys who have really matured and became men to get into that final. So going to Cabras is not easy. Winning at Cabras is not easy for guys like us who have gone out and won at Cabras. We know the kind of hard work they need to have, the kind of mental that they need to carry before they go into the field, because everything else will be against them. So the way they're going to come in as a unit and to be able to present themselves will mean a lot on that day.
Going to a final, it's not an ordinary match like the other league game. That's a game of points, and that's where you'll know who stands on pressure. And I believe the boys have trained enough, they have bonded enough, and me joining them in this camp yesterday, they have had quite a good bonding within the team, and that's a plus, and that is a driving force to us as we go for the finals.
Losing the finals, I think, in the past has been a build-up to something bigger to come, and they've gotten a better share of it. They've had it 4 times. We also, at some point, had a better part of it, just a lapse, and we lost it. And this time, I think we are pretty excited and ready for the contest. We are hoping to give it another, to start building up and get the first of the 5 to come.
And with that, it is a wrap on Newswatch tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Tess Njenga, and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Muredi. Till next time, God willing, have a good night.